Seltzer Kings.
Podcasts.
The IKEA Business Network is now open for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Join for free today to get access to interior design services to help you make the most of your workspace, employee well-being benefits to help you and your people grow, and amazing discounts on travel, insurance, and IKEA purchases, deliveries, and more. Take your small business to the next level when you sign up for the IKEA Business Network for free today by searching IKEA Business Network.
What does an 18-year veteran of the tech industry and a 20-year veteran of the military have in common? More than you might think. Welcome, everyone, to the Second Act Podcast, leveling up your life's journey.
You can't stop me! You don't got the power, hey, shut me down. That's not an option. I'm my biggest problem. You don't got the power, hey, shut me down. That's not an option. You can't stop me!
Welcome back to the Second Act Podcast with Michael and John. How you doing today, John?
Michael, I'm excited. I'm doing great. Got another weekend of camping under our belt as a family, so it's always so much fun getting out in the woods and just being in nature. And I feel like we're closer to God. We're closer as a family. And I think this is the second podcast in a row that I've been camping out before the actual podcast. So I always come back kind of renewed and filled with fresh air. So I'm excited, and I'm excited for this episode because for one of the first times in our podcast, I got to involve my kids and show them the website of the guests we're bringing on, and they were so excited. And they were like, "Dad, you got to ask this question, and you got to do this." And so I'm excited for today. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing really well. Just the common themes that we're seeing with our guests and sort of marrying sort of hard work, but being present and being outside. We've talked a lot about being outside lately, which our guest is no stranger to with what he's doing in the world today. Really awesome. I went to his website as well, and I got to say, it might have put me in the market for something. I'm not sure yet, but today's discussion, I'm interested to see where we go in our adventures with the topics. With that said, why don't you kick it off, John?
Well, as I said, I'm really excited about this show today because, as I just said, I was out camping recently, and I think everyone loves a good adventure. Some people want their adventures to be filled with cutting-edge design, latest technology, and the highest quality materials available on the market today. I and my family and I, we're still just tent campers, but one day we may be able to upgrade. But in this week's episode, we're excited to be joined with Pavel Bosovik, the founder and CEO of 27North. It's a manufacturer of luxury expedition vehicles based in Springfield, Missouri. And if you have not checked out 27North and their vehicles and their website, you got to do it right now. I'm actually streaming it behind my notes, and I can't stop looking at these vehicles. But Pavel's a serial entrepreneur with ventures that span in real estate, media, and consulting. He's also a deacon at River of Life Church, as well as a husband to Nina, his wife. He thrives on sharing his knowledge and insights to inspire and motivate others to achieve their goals and dreams. And we look forward to discussing his journey with him right now.
Welcome.
So welcome to the show, Pavel.
That intro, I feel like I'm about to go on stage and say a speech.
Well, listen, I'm literally giddy and shaking because of this episode, because, as much time as my family spends outdoors, and as much as we see, various vehicles and campers and trailers out on the road and in campsites, there's a feeling of passion amongst these people about what they own and what they bring out into the woods. And man, I look at these vehicles and I think I can't imagine the excitement that people behind the wheel and in the back of these vehicles get to experience when they hop in these things.
Most definitely. It's all about the experience. I think it's very empowering, especially consumers that have had experience within the RV industry, and a very bad experience, for a matter of fact. And for them to come in and have this ultra unique, extraordinary experience, it's cutting edge.
Paul, if I can start, tell me 27North.
Yeah,
Tell me what the meaning behind the name is.
Yeah, it's the latitude of Mount Everest.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Okay.
It circumnavigates the world through like Florida, Baja, and a lot of other cool places. You'd find one of our products.
Very cool. With that, I'm going to ask, I followed you on LinkedIn, I think a year or two now, and I've seen kind of the progress that you've taken. And let's start, because one of the pictures that's vivid in my mind, and I've showed my boys, is how you started in a garage. And you just completed a beautiful facility in Springfield. Tell me about the start. What got you into what you were doing in that garage?
Yeah, great question. It's actually the garage that I have in my office.
There it is.
Those of you
Yeah.
watching the video version, I always want to remember where I started and came from. It was my mom's garage. And so I was in construction, and I was doing cars on the side for about half a decade. And so I knew the in and outs of construction. I knew the in and outs of cars. And I saw a lacking both in the automotive industry. I saw a lacking in the construction industry. And then when I learned about RVs, I'm like, wow, there's even a bigger lack. And so I kind of merged my experience, my knowledge, my degree all into one, and pioneered, a revolutionary design and concept that was, prior to us, almost unheard of in the RV industry in regards to mass production. You have a lot of wonderful one-off builders, but no one's been able to mass produce it yet. And, we're at the forefront of that. And so my inspiration was that when I started, I was just doing kind of like remodels and repairs on RVs. And I had one client come in with his wife, and they're both elderly. And they had an RV where they had spilled a 3-liter thermos of coffee, and the countertops swelled up, and the countertops and the cabinets and the floor. And my team took out all the water damage components. Insurance adjuster came and deemed it a total loss. And I had this elderly couple in my office crying, saying, the back order is 2 years on a replacement one. This is right around the pandemic when you couldn't get an RV. They're like, doctors told us we have 3 years of good health to travel, and then we can't travel, and insurance isn't giving a full payout, and just completely crushed. And I'm like, wow, I have to do something about it. And so I set off on my journey to build the ultimate RV, and gathered some of the brightest minds in the industry. And together we worked as a team to create 27North expedition vehicles.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, how did you wind up in Springfield, Missouri? I've actually been there, Pavel. I have some really good friends from undergrad who were born and raised there. We met in Colorado. They moved back after college was done, and we still sort of connect with each other rarely through Facebook, but we are connected, and we see what's going on in each other's lives from time to time. How did you come to make Springfield home?
Yeah, so the Springfield became home for us. Funny you say Colorado. My wife is from Colorado, but Springfield became home for us. We immigrated to Portland, Oregon, and this was in the late 90s. And at that time, late 90s, early 2000 is not so family-friendly environment. And so my dad had a pastor friend here in Springfield, Missouri, and he told my dad that Springfield, Missouri is the promised land. And so my dad packed all 11 of us siblings, and we moved to Springfield, Missouri. And it panned out to be very, very true, because some of my friends are important. Like, Paul, you realize you'd never be able to pull this off in Portland, Oregon. I'm like, well, maybe not, but we're definitely blessed and grateful that Missouri is our home now.
And you said you immigrated with 11 siblings. So
Yes.
where did you immigrate from, and how hard was that transition with 11 other brothers and sisters?
Yes, so that was definitely challenging. I think we moved in 4 different vehicles here, drove across country, some of us in the semi-truck, some of us in a van, some of us in a Jeep. And so it was It was like the Oregon Trail, but modern day version of the Oregon Trail. And then instead of going to Oregon, it was from Oregon back to Missouri.
Yeah.
If those of you don't know, St. Louis is the gateway arch to the West. And so a lot of pilgrims moved to the West Coast coming through or starting at St. Louis, Missouri. And yeah, once we moved here, we all just kind of felt like at home. Missouri's a red state, and so very similar values and beliefs to where we came from in Ukraine. And so it was an extraordinary experience. The schooling system was very similar to what we were used to, and it just we became very adaptive. And within 20 years, all my siblings graduated prestige colleges here in Missouri and have very successful jobs.
Are any of those brothers and sisters working with you at 27 North?
Yeah.
So on and off, I've had a few of my sisters and brothers work, but not full time. They've all pursued their own careers. I guess building RVs isn't for everybody.
You'd mentioned to get started as sort of a side hustle-ish type of job where you were helping out some folks, and it sort of blossomed into a full-time business. Tell us about the start of that journey and then how you started to see the traction manifest itself into some of the amazing things you guys are building today. By the way, the Ascender is, I love it. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely something that is it catches eyes, it catches attentions. I was super blessed to be able to pursue and develop that. It was a childhood dream of mine.
Okay.
And so at a young age, I'd draw pictures of trucks. So I wanted to create a recreational truck that is like part military, part not. And so I worked together with an awesome team, and we designed the Ascender. It's built on a Ford 550 chassis. It's got a not traditional shell. For like over 120 years, RV manufacturers have been putting a box on a truck. It doesn't handle crosswind. It's not aerodynamic. Inside is MDF and cheap appliances from China. No offense to China if anyone from China is listening. And so at the end of the day, it was, we wanted to take a yacht, military truck, and create a recreational vehicle, and we did just that.
Wow.
And so walk me through, Pavel, because what seems to happen, right, with successful people, and I put you in that category based on the website you've developed, based on the vehicles you're building, based on the publicity that you receive and everything. I would consider you successful, but people look at successful people and they want to fast track to where you're at. But the road is long and arduous and paved with lots of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes.
So walk us through that garage that's sitting behind you to where you are now. And I know that's a super long discussion, but just maybe some of the lessons or some of the things that when you were starting out, young Pavel with this dream in mind, and that first vehicle that you started with to help out that elderly family. I mean, tell me about some of that growth.
So do you have 6.5 hours? I'd love to.
This for you, this episode can go as long as we want. So
I love it. I love it. Okay. I'll do the Spark Notes version, and then I'm publishing a book this fall. And so for those that are wanting to go into greater detail, my book is live on my website for pre-order. And so I would summarize it into kind of 7 critical lessons or pillars, as I call them in my book, of what gave me the ability to not only succeed up until this point, but to continue to succeed and pioneer even in a time of recession on an election year when there's so many unknown variables. And the first is the childhood foundation. One's childhood plays a critical role in their long-term success. I highlight that, I am a firm believer that one of the best things that can happen to a child is be born into poverty. And that's in a not quite literal sense, but it kind of is. If you look at some of the top billionaires and millionaires and pioneers of modern day society, and even take the last 100 years, all born into poverty. And full disclosure for the parents that, are born very well and successful, you have to create those poverty-like environment for your children. Here's a simple example. We were having dinner, recently with a very successful couple, and they have a 14-year-old daughter that is about to turn 15, and she wants a car, and she wants this, and she wants that. And her parents signed her up at Brahms, because I guess Brahms hires like at 15 or 14 and a half, so that she's working the air fryer now. And so we're eating dinner, big bougie house, bougie furniture, like top of the line, more cars in the driveway, boats, you name it. I mean, we're talking, high net worth individual. And their daughter walks in the kitchen, and she's like covered in oil, and it like stinks. And I'm like, wow, that girl is going to grow up being a leader. Because if you look at the catch side, children that don't have that discipline, survival instinct built in from a young age, they don't succeed. And that's where the word trust fund babies comes from. Social media, I mean, you see it all over social media. You see what's going on in the school. You see what's going on in our grades. You see the map testing and all the scores. I mean, it's quite the unfortunate situation. So, first and foremost, growing up in poverty or poverty-like discipline.
Let me interrupt. For those that don't know, because I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, very close to Springfield. Brahms is kind of this family-owned dairy ice cream hamburger place. And as soon as you said Brahms, my mouth started watering, because I love that place. And anytime I'm driving home, that's where we stop. So thank you for bringing me back to my childhood.
Hey, you're welcome. It's a critical role in your success. I truly think it's the deciding factor of how successful your life will unravel.
Yeah.
The second for me in my life that I saw was critical was my faith. If I didn't have my faith, I'd be nothing and nobody, because there's a lot of stressful moments. I remember a particular moment, you're sitting in your office, you don't know what you're going to pay payroll with, invoices due, and there's this turmoil and unknown, and the whole country shutting down, and there's this pandemic and some kind of viral disease, and the news is blowing things up, and hospitals are shutting down. And you're just like so nauseous, and you sit down on the floor, crisscross applesauce, and you take the trash can, you hug it, and you throw up, and you say, God, I surrender. God, I surrender. I need you to lead. I don't know what to do. You breathe, you drink some water, you sit down, and you're just like, all right, God, Jesus, take the wheel, for lack of a better phrase. And you get a phone call. A client says, hey, I love your trucks. I want to order one. I need to wire transfer you right away, because I need to move some money around before tax season, this and that. Can I make a $300,000, deposit on a bill? And you're like, yes, here's my account information. And, for a small business that's just getting started, $300,000 was a year's worth of revenue for us at the time. And so you have to have faith, because if you don't have faith, look at any profession, any family, any situation. If you don't have that faith, lawyers turn to marijuana, doctors turn to, I think it's alcohol, professors each person turns to their own vice, and you lose happiness, and you lose peace, and you lose the purpose and meaning of life. So that'd be a critical role, faith.
Wow. Well, faith in something gives you hope, right? It creates a foundation of hope that you'll get through this, not alone, but together with whatever you have faith in.
Yeah, I agree. It's not just faith in God or greater power. It's faith that it's going to work. It's faith in your team, faith in your family supporting you and being there for you. It's like I said, there's an entire book I wrote on it. And so the next point is vision. Helen Keller once said, the only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. And so you have to have that vision, and a big vision, because otherwise you reach your goals and you're stuck. Vision is necessary in times of crises. If you can't see a solution in a time of crises, you're in a tough spot. The next one would be sacrifice. I've sacrificed a lot. I've sacrificed health. I've sacrificed friends. I've sacrificed family relations. I've sacrificed, a lot of fancy stuff in my life. You have to sacrifice. I would say if you want to hit, the Elon Musk, you have to sacrifice everything. If you want to, just be, I call it average, but the good kind of average, the middle class, the amazing fire truck or the firefighter, the amazing nurse, the amazing doctor, you still have to sacrifice in any aspect level of life that you want to be. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're better or worse off wherever, you're called to be in life. Whether you just want to be an amazing stay-at-home dad, you're sacrificing hobbies, bro trips, like you're sacrificing so much to be that, you're sacrificing your career. And so, yeah, sacrifice is big. Next is the ability to do something out of nothing. There's so many times in business that you have no resources, nothing, and you have to like figure out how to do something. And so if you can have a knack for like seeing the invisible, you'll excel. I think you'll excel not only in business like I did, but in life in general. And then after that, I go into covering probably the next and most important, and that's social circle. That's employees, family, having the right friends, having the right mentors, having the right bankers, having the right clients. Because just one category of what I just listed, if you have all amazing social circle but terrible clients, you're done. If you have all amazing things but a terrible banker, you're done. And so the key there is building your own table, as I call it, building your own circle of a social circle. And then the rest is just, policies and procedures, and you scale and you grow and you excel.
Wow. I've written down a number of things here, Pavel, and I'm sure John has too.
You start, Michael. I got some questions too.
I mean, I can relate to many of the things that you've listed off in one degree or another. Certainly sacrifice, in my experience, has been a pendulum, where you're sacrificing a lot for your family at a given time, but then, as you said, that sacrifice comes as a cost to time with your family, and you need to recognize and be mindful of those sacrifices, and then, some of those bro trips or other indulgences that might take away from that family time, making the sacrifice against those so that you're able to spend whatever remaining time you have with your family, with your close friends, with your faith. And so life is a balancing act. And you touched on the scrappiness. Certainly we're pretty scrappy here with our startup and some of our entrepreneurial adventures. And that probably comes all the way back to building that childhood foundation that you talked about. How we define being poor is probably a subjective exercise, because in some cases, families are just trying to put food on the table where others don't have that problem, but they want to create conditions to understand the struggle of creating something. And I think that's a lot of what you're talking about. And it's all of these things sort of play off of each other, and I think has helped sort of drive your sort of internal engine in creating this amazing business. So I love what you've outlined in the book.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Pavel, I'm going to hit on that same sacrifice topic, because, a lot of people that we have on the show, they have gotten to a point where they've had to sacrifice a lot. And then they find out either that they've made it and, they continue on, or they're dissatisfied about something and they've got to go back to sacrificing. But work-life balance is a popular catchphrase, which I don't truly believe in, because I think you have to sacrifice at times where the balance is skewed. And I think from your experience, there's been times where you've been heavily weighted in one area and sacrificing in another. So talk to me about what that's been like over the last couple years, the strains that you may have had because of the drive that you've had in other areas.
Yeah, the strains that I've experienced over the last, I would say, 2 years is where we've had like the most growing pains. And that ties in with sacrifice is probably losing good employees. We had, a handful of really, really good employees that the environment of a scaling manufacturer is just so much stress that it creates a stressful work environment. And there's people that thrive in that and say, hey, we got to go faster. We got to do more. We got to be more innovative. But your regular, or your, let me, use the word, more traditional style of work environment, individuals that grew up on that, for them, it's so unusual that, they're not able to be happy in such a work environment. So losing those really good people some of which I personally help find new jobs where they're thriving and happy and still maintaining great relationships with them. It's been hard. It's been hard because, you envision yourself succeeding together, and they say, hey, no amount of money will make this stress worth it. That was hard. And then I'd say family would be another one. Coming from a Slavic background, growing up in a culture where we're always spending time together and always going trips and reunions and birthdays and second birthdays and half birthdays. And it seems like getting together every weekend for barbecues, not being able to do that anymore has put a lot of pressure on our relationships there, and I've kind of made them a little more distant. And it's been hard. It's been an emotional moment. It's been hard on both myself and my wife and her side of the family and my side of the family. But that's just one of those sacrifices that you have to make. And not just entrepreneurs and CEOs who, like yesterday, I got my calendar, and it's like, it says, like, if you want to talk to me, like, please see Asia, my executive assistant. And that's just my meetings. Like, that's not emails, texts, phone calls. Yesterday I was in meetings for 8 hours and 13 minutes in just meetings. And so, when you're working a 16-hour shift, 7 days a week, it limits the amount of time. So essentially everything that, the traditional human being gets to experience and have, I don't in this season of my life, because of the sacrifice I'm making to have that growth. And for the listeners that, find that crazy or don't understand, I always like to highlight, look at your football players. Look at your political key role players like presidents and governors. Look at your teachers and professors. They all have similar sacrifices. Look at your ER doctors. Some of those men and women are working 30, 60, 30-hour shifts, 60-hour weeks on a slow week. Your football players have seasons, on season, off season. Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and you might think Mr. Patrick is out having a blast. Nope, he's early in the gym working, and in any walk of life. I mean, look at motherhood. I remember my mom and 11 children. I still wonder if the woman ever slept.
And so how do you find then there's got to be moments of pause and carving out that personal time that your wife needs, that you even need for yourself? I mean, getting a workout in or just doing things. How do you think about your day as you're trying to drive this incredibly aggressive growth of the business?
Discipline and a strict schedule. Had you asked me this a year ago, I would have said I work. And then when I'm not working, I'm thinking about working. I'm always working. And then it would lead to burnout. I'd go take a 3-day vacation, reset, and then come back. I found that very strenuous on my health and my mental health and all of it. So I hired an extraordinary EA, and she's, master's degree in law and, 10 plus years experience, certified. And I told her, I need you to make me better. And so she really helped me start what she calls living by a calendar. And so I have a very fine-tuned routine that you can find on my Instagram and YouTube. I posted it, a day in the life of, a CEO, and it's just sticking to that schedule. So for me, it's like I wake up the same time every day. I start with stretching, exercising, then, the brushing teeth, washing your face, vitamins, water, prayer, and I'm off to the office. I arrive at the office same time every day. In the office, I do chapter of Bible. I read a couple of different business books, and then I dive into my day, and then I finish my day off. And just, once you get in that routine, it helps balance. But I'd say like every 3 months reach this burnout phase. So we'll jump on a plane. Like right now, I'm getting close to that, and it's close to our anniversary. So we're going to go spend, a week in Mexico. I'll still probably be working by the poolside, but it just really helps reset every 2 to 3 months.
Man, I'm jealous that you'll be working by the poolside, because today is my 16th anniversary with my wife, and I'm recording a podcast and working.
That's commitment, John.
I get to look at the mountains, but I'm not by a pool. But I would say this is a great way to celebrate, even if my wife is off with the kids right now. But
sacrifice, man. We're talking about it. You're doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that schedule to me, is key. And Michael and I have talked about this. Where advice, if you're a time blocker, or you stick strictly to the schedule, or if you just fill in, the gaps that you have. And I've bounced around with several of those strategies, but I know the dedication it must take to have people underneath you that are depending on you to make those decisions for those checks that are coming in on a monthly basis, because you essentially are providing opportunity for them to grow in their family and trickle down effect, right? So the decisions you make are incredibly important and weighted. And, you talk about your day, it just makes me feel so much more grateful for us to be able to have this time with you and have these discussions, because I know it's taking away from the other things that you could be doing that are profitable. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're very much welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, John, you just sort of reminded me, and maybe it's relevant to this conversation, that if you are embarking on the entrepreneurial journey, or you want to be part of someone else's entrepreneurial journey, you need to be very honest with yourself about what that commitment is. And if you want it to become this global empire and have all of the financial success that comes along with it, Pavel, you talked about sacrifice. You need to understand that sacrifice. You won't know all the sacrifice it takes, but talk to people and try to understand the true sacrifices that come along with that journey. And if you come to the conclusion after those conversations that, hey, maybe that's not for me. To your point earlier, Pavel, about you have some employees who want to do a good job, but maybe they don't want to do 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're still great employees. They just need to find, they're not in the right environment long-term for them. And I commend you on recognizing that in them and helping them find a good fit for them somewhere else after their contributions to your company.
Yeah, it's essential for me. I made a promise when I started my business that I would always take care of my people, my clients, my people being my family, friends, social circle, as well as employees. And that's something I try my best to do. Whenever you're scaling a company from your mom's garage to, high 10 figures, you come across a lot of different people in walks of life. And we're talking thousands of people. And of course, amongst that, there's misunderstandings and legal disputes. And every single time I've always taken the high road and always, said, hey, I'm not at fault here, but I don't want to ruin your life, and I don't want to go into these legal troubles. Tell me what it's going to take. I want to make it right. I want to make sure you're happy. And some of my worst enemies, through misunderstandings, have turned into friends, and we still have great relationships, and we still engage on each other's social media. One time, I have a really phenomenal veteran working for me, and he's like, hey, Paul, was there anyone on your list that I should keep an eye out for? And I'm like, I don't have a list. I try to keep friends with everybody, even my enemies. And he couldn't believe me, but yeah, we had a good laugh about it.
I love it. I want to come back to 27North because I do have just a few questions. I'm curious about your business and the growth. So, I mean, it's doing very well, and you've highlighted some of the things so far. Tell us about who are your buyers? Like, who's buying these incredible vehicles, and do you have any cool off-road stories that have been shared by your customers where they've taken this thing and they've gone viral in some Instagram or YouTube video? Tell us about some of that fun stuff.
So many, yes. So our clients, the youngest to date, 27-year-old girl from Chicago, single, remote sales rep for a tech company. She got in a van and just travels all over the country in Mexico. Remote sales. She's on her laptop, Starlink on the roof, and you're good to go. Oldest client to this day is a 74-year-old lady in Florida, second time retired, just wants to travel up and down the coast of Florida and everything in between. A lot of fly fishermen and just outdoor enthusiasts, first time wanting to experience the outdoors. One in particular stands out. We had a young influencer, early 30s. He had the Ascender truck, and he was at a gas station, and people kept asking him, what does it take to fuel this thing up? And so he makes a reel on TikTok of him fueling it and how much it costs, and it just went viral. People weren't expecting it. I mean, it was like $1,000 for a full fuel.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was, oh yeah, it was crazy. So after that, there's a famous person that was with it, and his video went viral. And then a lot of influencers have over the years made videos, both good and bad videos. But I always say, there's no such thing as bad PR. We once had a group of young guys take our Ascender out, and they asked us, like, what is this thing capable of? We're like, it's a prototype, push it to the limits. If you're going to damage it, just go ahead and make sure it's a total damage, like a total loss, like flip it over. We can flip it over. And we're like, I mean, at your own risk, I'm not encouraging or promoting. That's what you do, then like flip it over, it'll go viral. And so they attempted to, but they weren't able to flip it over. Instead, they shifted the drive shaft, and it went viral. And a lot of mean comments, a lot of rude comments. Yeah, it was kind of offensive, but as my PR team always says, there's no bad PR. None of my employees can walk into any like O'Reilly's, Home Depot, Lowe's, like anywhere they walk in wearing 27North, like, oh, you guys are those guys. You guys are those guys. Can you show us the truck? Like, I wish all those rude comments could see what they did to my company and my brand and my image.
Well, if you need any help getting your vehicle out there, Michael and I talked offline about wrapping that thing with some, 27North in the second act, and we would take it out and do all of our interviews on the road for a couple months. But
that would be huge. We're working with a big name podcaster, designing him a podcast studio inside one of our venture vans. So
nice.
That was our idea. He stole our idea.
There's no more original ideas, John.
We can build multiples.
Well, I would say put us on the list, but after I heard it costs $1,000 to fill this thing,
well,
we may need
big trucks. The vans are a little bit more cost effective.
Yeah.
Well, we're in. Put us on the list.
Yeah, we offer affordable financing. I mean, it's just the perfect need for you.
We need probably about 100,000 more listeners before we can jump in, but we're willing to wrap that thing for your namesake.
Thank you.
Pavel, talk to me, looking at the website again, phenomenal. And everybody's got to look at this thing. I want to know a regret that you've had over the last year in getting to where you're at right now, because, as I already said, successful. I put you in that successful category with, a lot of other people. And I get asked constantly, oh, it must have been awesome to fly the president around. But there's a regret in there, in that story. A regret of leaving family, or a regret of, not being there for a birthday or an anniversary.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I think, I have a few, but I think the only one worth mentioning that's probably relatable is the toll it took on my marriage. Building a company takes a lot of time, sometimes sleeping in the office, sleeping on the production floor inside a van, and you sacrifice a lot of time. For me, it's similar to your most prime years. I always say, like in the military, I got it easy because I was at least able to come home most evenings, but your prime time that you're sacrificing, your late 20s and your early 30s, when you're supposed to be with your wife and traveling and starting a family, it's really hard. And I think my biggest regret is last year when one of my competitors offered me $10 million for my company, not taking that check and going with my wife, overseas and living 2 generations just very comfortably.
Wow. That's raw. And, when you talk about giving up your late 20s, early 30s, I think about the time that I was in Afghanistan or Iraq or on ship during some of those key moments. And so I know how real that can be, and I know how hard that is. And I wanted to highlight that for the listeners, because we see success at the end.
Yeah.
When you got your feet propped up on the desk and you got a line of customers waiting for your product.
Right.
But that time in between is incredibly raw and real and difficult. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
So, Pavel, turning down an 8-figure offer, it's hard for a lot of people, especially when it's staring you in the face. What's your motivation after you're like, no, thanks,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going?
For me, it was a combination of some of the things we talked about in the beginning of this was vision and a social circle. So I have a $1 billion vision, and so I knew I'm selling myself short, but just vision was not enough because I was about to take it. Like I had contracts, everything prepped, ready to go, and I went to my social circle, and one of my mentors is one of my really strong and close mentors is Doug Pitt, Brad Pitt's brother. And I remember talking to him, and he told me something that probably changed the trajectory of my life. And he said, never sell your equity and never sell yourself short. And for me, I never really had a father figure that taught me like business and all from experience. Like I had an amazing dad that taught me life and how to be a husband and how to be a good steward of my faith, but not into like business and equity and ownership and how companies grow in value and how much you have potential. And so seeing him believe in me and telling me that piece of advice in that moment, I heard his voice in my head. I'm like, I have to trust him and my instincts on this.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, a year later, we recently got a valuation 5 times that. And, we were talking to some pretty big VCs that are saying like, hey, don't stop or settle now, like do X, Y, Z, and we'll give you guys 10X that. And it's like, whoa, like one step at a time.
Wow.
Yeah, the experiential market or economy or however you want to describe it, people I think have traded some consumer goods for experiences in a way, and I mean you're in that sweet spot but in a really cool niche with your product. It's not sort of the mass market recreational vehicles. It's these really cool, high quality, high tech vehicles that, there's a growing cohort of people that want to spend life on the road or doing recreational things, but they need all the creature comforts that exist in sort of a fixed asset like an apartment or a house or something like that. And you marrying those two things, I think you said a luxury yacht and a truck.
Yes,
military. Did I get it right? Military-like vehicle. I think you've really honed in on something super cool. And again, if you haven't gone to Pavel's website and checked out these vehicles, they're just awesome.
Pavel, I want to ask something, and it may be something that we have to edit out, but I see you posting on LinkedIn. It's a conversation you've had with the governor.
Yes.
If you can, talk a little bit about that exchange, and are there any political aspirations for you in the future? And I ask that because I think with your values and your pillars, those are things that are missing in our society, our local and communal society, as well as our political environment. So talk one about the conversation, and then 2 about the future.
Yeah, great question. I hate politics. I always said I'd never got into politics, and yet somehow I got pulled into politics. Not in the foreseeable future, I don't think so. I think the reason I hated politics is because I never truly understood them. But even now that I understand them, I understand it's why many people hate the RV industry, because they don't understand it, and the people in it are doing it wrong. They're doing it unethically. And so the politics, same thing. I think politics back in the time of our forefathers was a beautiful thing. One of the greatest countries in the world in the history of mankind, period. Like anyone will agree and not dispute that with you. The United States of America is the greatest country to ever exist. I mean, period. And probably after, no other country will come near, not even China, not even Russia. We just have something beautiful, and that's our foundation is built on strong and good principles, on faith.
Yeah.
And so I somehow got introduced to the Missouri Association of Manufacturers, which introduced me to our lieutenant governor. And he came down, and we were still in a fairly small shop, and he had this awesome conversation with me. He was a former business owner his entire life, and then he felt a calling to do more good and would give back to the state. And he went into politics, and he's sharing all these amazing things he's doing to transform the state. And now he's running for governor, and he'll probably become governor. I'm like, wow, I want to do that too. So I'm like, I want to meet the governor. So then I meet the governor, and have one event leads to another event, leads to him coming to our grand opening and just praising our company and just building a strong relationship there. And finally, I'm like, I think I can make a difference. And a couple of very successful people in my inner circle are like, Pavel, you just express your interests, and the position's pretty much yours. I'm like, whoa, really? That's it? Like, well, there's a lot of hard work in between, but yes, you can be governor. So I don't know. I don't know what God hasn't planned for me. I think if the opportunity arises, I would definitely consider it.
Wow. Well, fast forward us to 10 years down the road. Pavel, 10 years older. I mean, you look like you're 25. So when you're 35, what's going on with you and 27 North?
27 North is diversifying into different industries and growing because of our strategic partners. And so it's gonna probably be 10 times bigger. You're gonna see our name in a lot more headlines. We're gonna be setting the norm in a lot of industries, and I think just all around, just helping people change their lives for the better. Whether it's through 27 North or through one of my other companies or my book. In 10 years, I'd like to be fully focused on changing other people's lives. I love manufacturing. I love the RV industry. But I think in 10 years, if someone could come in and be a better CEO than I, like Jeff Bezos often says, then I would gladly let them take reign and just step aside and be a board of directors and just the visionary founder behind the company and give back. I love speaking at universities. I love speaking at podcasts. I love mentoring. I love coaching. I've been so fortunate to help so many different companies and even political figures just transform the way they go about their business or campaigns that has given them such success. And like one of my really close friends always says, at a certain point, money stops bringing in that feeling that you used to. And that's where doing charity kicks in. And so I'd like to be full-time and just giving back to society at that point.
Wow. Do you do coaching on the side? Do you?
Yes, I do. I have it's called the Inner Circle. It's where I just help young entrepreneurs, business owners, employees, just anyone affiliated or wanting to be affiliated with work-life balance. And I focus on faith, family, health, and business, how to have balance and harmony in those. And so I've been, very fortunate. I started a couple of months ago, and I've already helped a couple of companies double their revenue and solve a lot of major problems.
I think you're going to help our podcast.
Oh, I have so much to share. Just tell me when you want to start. We'll make it happen.
Well, let's get that Ascender wrapped, and then when we come out to pick it up,
going big.
We'll have that conversation. But I truthfully, I told Michael before we started recording, with you being out in Springfield, there's nothing more I'd love to do than just come out and see an operation. And I think the feeling that I have is how people used to come out and see, the Presidential Helicopter Squadron. It's something where it just functions so fluidly and the professionalism is so high, and people walk in and they're just like, wow, this is amazing. And I look at pictures that you've posted of your facility, the pictures online, and I think this is a well-oiled business, and you're just starting out.
Yeah.
You're just hitting your stride, and that is what is so attractive to me. And that's when I one day I saw a picture of your facilities in being built, and I said, Michael, we got to get this guy on our podcast. This is extraordinary. I mean, I imagine this is what Elon Musk, how he started when he thought about Tesla and the ideas that he had behind launching that brand.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It's your words are very kind, and you're too good to me, but I really appreciate it. And it's a team. A lot of people undervalue a team. Like when you can empower someone, give them purpose, meaning, and the resources, like my mom marvels at that. She's like, Pavel, how do you not know what's going on the production floor? I'm like, well, I do. I get to schedule an appointment, and one time every 2 weeks, I get to walk it with my production manager and director of operations. Like, oh, why would you do that? It's like, well, I'm the founder. If I go out there every day and I have this idea and that idea and that idea, it creates kind of discourse and dysfunction. And she's like, well, you're the owner. I'm like, I know I'm the owner, but I have almost 60 other employees, and we're on track to, get close to 100 by the end of the year. And you have to have systems and procedures. I was very influenced by my friends that are active in former military, by the structure, and like each person's empowered to make those decisions in a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And so I hang a sign on my door that says, have you tried ChatGPT? Is it less than $100,000? That is what I'm paying you for.
Yeah.
Just to empower people, like, hey, you have the ability to go make big decisions, and for the greater good and the success of our company, and it'll benefit your family.
Yeah. We call that the good idea fairy. When a leader or a commander comes out with the good ideas at the last minute, and it really wrecks the process.
Yeah.
And you obviously know that at some point the commander, the leader, the CEO has to say, this is the direction I want you to go, and then put that trust in his subordinates.
Yeah.
And then be comfortable with the quality of work that comes out on the backside. And if he's not comfortable, then you address it, at a later time. But when you empower your subordinates, when you empower your coworkers, your Marines, your service members, when you empower them to make the decisions, they take that and they run with it. And usually you'll find a better product on the backside when you put your trust in your people. Yeah.
Having that self-awareness, I wish it was more common, but and it comes all the way back to the hiring process, hiring the great people who are smart, who want to be part of this journey, and then just clearing the way for them to support you in the business. Pavel, I think, is the magic combination. And with that said, we're getting close to time here, and we always like to wrap up with sort of some practical advice that maybe you want to leave with our audience about your own personal experience. For anybody contemplating or just getting started in their second act, is there something you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Take the first step and keep failing until you make it.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, too many people, they're just so hesitant to take that first step, whether it be marriage, military, a new job, a new venture. Your life will go by faster than that. I remember asking my grandmother at 93, Grandma, how fast did your life go by? And she said, faster than you can blink. And I stood there and I blinked, and I tried in my head to count how much time, and I couldn't even count to one. I'm sitting there fighting with myself that I can't count how fast I'm blinking. And so just changing jobs, changing roles, changing locations, take your family and move. We have so many of these ideas inside, and I've had, one after another, young people ask me, hey, I want to do this. I'm like, go and try it. Worst case, you fail, and you know that you tried, and you'll never regret it. You don't regret from failing. Exactly. You regret from not trying. And the more you tried, the more you'll succeed. One of my students that I'm mentoring, he started in construction, then he tried that, he tried insurance sales, and he's tried probably 50 different business ventures. Wow. And finally he hit gold. He found out containers are his thing, and now he makes over $1 million net profit a year. He drives a fancy Lamborghini. Wow. And you would have never guessed, until you kept failing. For me, I started in the 5th grade. I tried making bookmarks. By 6th grade, I was selling car parts, cleaning residential properties. By high school, I had the greatest idea ever. I was going to create $1 billion company cleaning construction sites. There's extra lumber, nails. I was going to create $1 billion company. And then I'm like, no, I realized that's not scalable. I'm not passionate about that. I'm going to be a firefighter. I go and I start training for a firefighter. I'm reading the books. I'm going to the firehouse. Then I'm like, no, I want to be a pilot. So then now I'm like, I want to go to the airport. I want to be a pilot. By the time I finished college, my mom was just like, Paul, just be something. I don't care what, just pick something.
Yeah.
And I just kept trying. I went in construction, I went in automotive, I tried servicing, and then finally I found what I was called to do, and that's, build ultimate expedition vehicles. And now, I'm already thinking 10 years ahead. And it's like, I want to keep this legacy going, but at the end of my career per se, I don't want to kick my feet up on a beach somewhere. I've tried that. It's boring. I want to impact lives. So I'm going to go and try coaching. I'm going to try mentoring. I'm going to try teaching at the university that I just keep trying, keep living life, keep flipping the page, trying new things. Don't be stuck in despair and, the regret.
Boom. Mic dropped. There's a lot of good nuggets in there, Pavel, and I haven't stopped smiling from the moment you got on and we started talking. And going down your pillars, childhood, foundation, faith, vision, sacrifice, ability to do something out of nothing, social circle. I mean, true nuggets. And this is exciting for me because people get to see the start, the relatively young start of 27North. And 10 years down the road, I have no doubt in my mind that you'll be exactly what you set forth, because people with vision succeed. People without vision fail.
Yeah.
And I believe you have that vision.
Thank you.
And so it just means a lot that you'd come on the show and share an hour's worth of time and hours worth of wisdom that you gained in your 25 years of life.
I appreciate it.
But I want to personally say thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story with our audience. And for listeners who want to get connected or want to learn more about 27North and your business, where's the place that they can best do that?
Yeah, just a quick Google search, 27North, and we're the number one, pop up on Google. You'll find us on YouTube for videos, Instagram, for content, TikTok for funny behind-the-scenes stuff as our employees do goofy stuff and somehow get me to do goofy stuff. Our website for information, and then if you just do a quick Google search of my name, you'll find articles, my websites, all my social media pages. For professional insights, I recommend my LinkedIn. For a little bit of everything and behind the scenes, I recommend Instagram. And then for my longer content on YouTube.
And real quick, give us a plug for the book. When is it coming out? What's it called? And
so
what can we
my
expect?
book is actually, I have it here somewhere in my office. It's called What It Takes, The 7 Pillars to Success. It dropped this fall, end of October. You'll find all the information on my website, pavelbosovik.com, or just bosovik.com, as well as my social medias. It's available for pre-order, and it's just in-depth analysis of what we discussed on this podcast.
That's awesome. We'll have to figure out, Michael, how we can get 100 or the copies of that and send it to our listeners as we go. So,
yeah, I'd love to be a part of that, and I will personally sign each one with.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
Nice,
man. I love it, Paul. Your enthusiasm, your integrity, your character on full display for the entire episode. So, thank you for that insight. And from Michael and I, thank you so much for coming on and being on the show.
Hey, you're very much welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much,
Anything
Pavel.
I can do for you guys as you continue on your journey, especially podcasting, I'm a phone call or email away.
You got it. You got
Awesome.
it.
This has been amazing.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, have a great time. Thank you for listening. Yeah. And if you can like us, subscribe, and drop any comments on this episode, we'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again, and have a great week.
Thank you. See ya.
The Second Act with Michael and John stars Michael Newborn and John Ballenger. The podcast is produced by Seltzer Kings. For more information on the show, check out michaelandjohn.com, or if you'd like to get involved in the conversation, give the guys a shout on their socials at The Second Act with Michael and John on most platforms. Thanks for listening.
Seltzer Kings
Podcasts.